about your marriage with Francis, how many children you have, what their names and ages are, or birth dates.
Okay, so I was pregnant with our first child. We're very happy about that. And they didn't have a hospital yet. Well, they had one, but my doctor, Fornash, he didn't think it was clean enough or something, whatever. So Paul was born in the doctor's office. It was pretty nice because I had good care, and so that same day when I could go home, I could just go home.
And what was the date?
Oh, October 15th, 1954. And so I taught Francis some basic things, how to care for a baby, how to hold him, how to bathe him, change diet, a few things. And we had a very wonderful community at the base. And the godparents, oh, yes. Oh, Aunt Marilyn and his Uncle Ron were the godparents. Oh, and I fixed a dinner because he was baptized at the base. And our kitchen, I guess, was the opposite of the door outside. Maybe it had a window. And I was cooking the roast on the stove. I guess when I got back, the burner was out or something. I forgot what we served, but I invited all these people to come to the baptism in our house for dinner. Somehow or another we survived with the food. And so then I was blessed with another child, Mary Elizabeth, and our good friends, she gave me a baby shower. Her husband was the, well, like the vice head at the rocket lab. And the hospital was built in Antelope Valley, so she was born there. And when I saw the color of her hair, auburn, I thought, I was surprised. But,
so when Mary was born, you saw the red hair.
Yeah.
And what was the date Mary was born?
January 14th, 1956. And that's the same day that Don and Ruth Ann DeBaets were born, were married, I think in Coronado. So we missed that wedding. And my brother Bal and his wife Pat were married a week later. And Ron DeBaets and Margaret were married that same day in Arizona. I'm trying to think of the city, but anyway, we couldn't go to any of the weddings. So, oh, and it was Don DeBates' birthday too. So all that occurred. We had to miss all of the weddings. But so after about 4 years, we thought it'd be a good idea to look into moving a house. So near Edwards Air Force Base, they developed they called it Edgemont Acres. If you paid for an acre and a quarter, I believe you were allowed to build a house. So we had a house built, but no garage. And we lived there the next 7 years. And Paul started school there, and Mary. And the mothers who lived in that neighborhood, we started like a romper room, you know, like a little preschool. And whoever had it at their house was the teacher. and the teacher would go around and pick up the other kids. It was kind of fun. We had a set program, and we did that. I think when Claire was maybe about 5 years old, maybe. So we lived there about 7 years, and prior to that, well, we called him Frank. I was the first one to call him Frank, I think. We looked for a home in Lancaster. We'd either live there or add on to our home in North Edwards and build a garage. But we thought the best thing to do was to live in Lancaster, California. So it took us about 1.5 years. So when we looked at the land, it was still bare land. And they put in the streets. And we could choose our street and home and the model we wanted. So when they built the house, Frank went there every day. The first day, they were going to put up the wrong model, and he caught them right on time, because we only inquired about that. So we waited for them to complete it. Oh, I didn't finish our children. So at North Edwards, okay.
Paul was born in 1954, Mary Elizabeth in 1956. And then who was your third child?
Oh, Mark. Okay. So Mark was born January 26, 1958. Yeah. And I remember he being baptized there. And his godparents were his Uncle Bal and Aunt Pat. Oh, and I had trouble with respiratory, having infections in my throat and stuff, so I had a tonsillectomy in LA, and Mark was the baby, and I was breastfeeding him, I guess. And anyway, my brother Val and his wife Pat were living we stayed with them for a few days. Oh, and after I had the surgery, tonsillectomy, Dad took me to the races.
The horse races?
Yeah, he liked horse racing. And there was a horse, Beautiful Lily. I don't know if anyone remembers that horse, but I was in such pain after my tonsillectomy. Anyway, we got through that.
Did Beautiful Lily win?
I can't remember. But anyway, it was beautiful and everything at the racetracks, but I was in pain. So as a thank you to my brother Val and his wife Pat, we took him to the old performing arts, I think, and we took him to La Cienega, Lowry's restaurant, and they thought that was so elegant. It was a lovely, lovely restaurant. And then we took him to the performing arts, the old one. And maybe, what was the big musical before, the Old Man River? What was the...
Music Man?
No, the one...
in St. Louis?
No. The Old Man River, they sang that. I should be thinking of that. But anyway, it was so... it was such a good performance. They kept thanking us for it. So anyway, that was a nice experience. I'm thinking of one very wonderful experience that all the DeBaetses, Ron and Margaret, Ron and Margaret, Don and Ruth Ann, and Frank DeBaets, my husband and I, we all went to the performing arts before they built that. And I think it was Silk Stockings. Yeah, we had dinner and went to that musical.
Silk Stockings.
Yeah, a very, very good performance. And that was the only thing I think we ever went all together. And now I'm the only surviving of those 3 marriages. Because Don DeBaets died in January.
Of 2021.
Yeah, this year.
Right.
And his brother died also in January. But, and of course they were born in January, so I thought that was real special that we had, well, this was after we were married, you know, that we all enjoyed that evening together. So, anyway, so how far are we?
That
Children.
you
Okay,
moved to Lancaster in
Okay,
1964, is that correct?
I only got as far as Mark.
Mark.
And then Claire Marie was born. And her birthday's June 14th.
Flag Day.
Yeah, 1959. And then the hospital was built in Lancaster, so all of you were born then at Antelope Valley Hospital. And then Claire Marie, yeah, and then Regina Therese, born July 30th,
1961.
And then Sharon Rose, born January 5th, 1964. And so our house was, yeah. Yeah, unfortunate, yeah, all the births went well. We had a miscarriage with the 3rd one. And then after Sharon was born, a little over 2 years would have been, yeah, it was no fetal heart tones at 6 months, and then was born about at 8.5 months. So we were blessed with all the children, and when then 5 months later, see, Sharon was born January 5th, and I guess June 5th, we actually moved to Lancaster. The house was, and before that, I went, someone who specialized in drapes, and I had someone make the whole drapes, and Dad found out how to install them. So when we moved, the house was just beautiful and gorgeous. And I thought I was the most fortunate person in the world. It was. It was a 4-bedroom, and almost 3 bathrooms, and just a great big rumpus room on top. Yeah, I was very blessed to have my husband and family that we lived there until my husband died. So anyway, those are very joyful years, and we all came in new, of course, to little cul-de-sac street. And yeah, lived there, 31 years.
So you lived in Lancaster on Higher Street, 510 Higher Street, for about 31 years?
Yes, until I moved to Oceanside, California.
And Francis passed away in 1982, is that correct?
1982. Yeah, he suffered a heart. They took from the rocket lab. They took him by helicopter to the base hospital in Edwards. He was there until he stabilized. Took him to ambulance to Lancaster. I guess he was ill altogether 28 days or so. He received the anointing of the sick. We even had a mass in his room that Father Barnabas offered. Oh, and before that, when we were married, about 20 years, we went to a marriage encounter, and we were the first ones to make it. We made it in San Fernando Valley. And that really, really enriched our life in the fullness of the sacrament of matrimony. And we had a speaker's night, and Dad was inviting people, and we got about 21 couples to come to the speaker's night. I guess they all signed up. So after that, many couples. So we were with the group, the Apostolic, I think. We had some wonderful married couples where we meet every couple of weeks.
And after living in Lancaster for 31 years, what brought you to Oceanside, California?
Well, one thing, I thought I could afford it because the cost of living here is so much more. And so economics was one reason if I could afford to move. And I was looking even before that to move. Oh, even that. In our parish bulletin in Sacred Heart Church, they had a little blurb in there about Mission San Luis Rey, the retreat house. They were offering, you came, like Labor Day weekend, from a Thursday, and so Dad and I went, and well, that's the first time we ever went to the retreat house. And so we enjoyed it, and you'd go to Mass in the morning, have breakfast, and do what you wanted in the daytime. In the evening, they had dinner, so one time we went to the races at Del Mar. I went to Palomar, the beach. It was really nice. So.
And living in Oceanside, let me rewind there. Tell me about your grandchildren. How many grandchildren do you have, and what are their names?
Yeah. Well.
Who was your first grandchild?
Oh, it was Jason, and my good friend Billy Lawrence. She had experienced grandparenting, so that's the first time I used grandparenting. I had the joy of grandparenting. Jason, well, my daughter Sharon got teacher's training, is that what it's called? For 2 semesters in San Diego. So, well, even Paul, after Frank died, was looking for a place in, was that called San Juan Capistrano, where you saw that house? But I didn't know how he'd pay for it.
Right.
So anyway, so I got exposed to San Diego. Oh, and not only that, the retreat house, I would go there several times. It's pretty cheap. And maybe look around at somebody knew someone in real estate, and he showed us around different houses, even in Encinitas to a new house. And that would have been maybe about 83, 84. Oh, I missed some things. In Lancaster, we helped start. I thought, wow, I'm widowed now. My mother's widowed. My sister Marilyn's widowed, and here I'm widowed. So I thought it was good to start a ministry. So we started a ministry in Lancaster, the Catholic Widow and Widowers. And then from Orange County name. And then we found Joyful again, and it was from near Chicago. So we went to an actual weekend. My good friend Ramona, she was widowed too. We went to actually a weekend there, and we helped start Joyful again. That's for the widowed. And so that was the experience I had with that. And so I looked a long time before I moved. And when I was in, when I did sell the house in Lancaster, Regina was going to St. Patrick's in Carlsbad. So I would interview people after Mass. If you had to have a real estate agent, who would you have? They all said Gloria Fry. So I contacted her, but she was sick for a while. But later on, when she could resume it, I had her. She exceeded my expectations. I saw the house here. I called it a smokehouse, and I put an offer on it, and they refused, but it didn't go through escrow 2 times after that, so it was for sale again. And they accepted my offer, and my real estate agent, just so wonderful. And after that, Paul and his friend Mike did so many things. Did you put out all these, what are these called?
Trellis?
Did you put those in? Mm-hmm. They did so much work, and on the west side, there was no service door to the garage. Oh my God, they put ceiling fans in the 3-bed. They just did all this work. I told him he had to stop and earn some money. And so anyway, I moved in. First of all, I stayed with Bert and Regina's home for 5 months. And I went to a Catholic Widow and Widowers, North County. And I met, the first meeting I went, happy hour. And I did not get a good impression because these 2 ladies said, you can just come here for social readings. You don't have to practice. But then I met Phyllis Coons, and she was a faithful cat. She's the reason I stayed in. And she was my friend. Well, she died, I think, last October. So I met some good friends. Well, she's the main one from the Catholic Widow and Widowers. Then maybe, most likely it was in December of 1995. The Catholic Widow and Widowers had a Christmas thing at Phyllis Coons' home. Well, anyway, I talked to John McGurvey quite a while, and I invited some people to come to the Epiphany party at the Abbey. And I reminded John McGurvey, I guess, about it, and he showed up. And after that, he invited me out, so. And we dated, and we were married the following October.
So you were married in October of 1996 to John McGurvey,
Correct.
whom you met from the Catholic Widow and Widowers of North County.
Yeah, that's how we met. And we were going to live in his home, and we had it arranged, I guess, with that exchange. I said, I really don't want to live in your house. And I'm the one who backed out on it. So we lived here. Oh, we had so many things done to this house. The closets were organized before we were married. And Regina cleaned out the garage so Mr. and Mrs. Cars could get in. And so my brother also officiated at that wedding and the marriage at in Downey, Our Lady Perpetua. We were married at the Old Mission.
You were married at the Old Mission in Oceanside.
Correct. Yeah. And so we had, we got to do many wonderful things. And he still had family in Las Vegas. We went there once in a while in Orange County, and my family, and went to Ireland. That was wonderful. And September, was that 1999, with John and Marilyn. And John had a cousin who was married then, and we got to be present at that. And yeah, the Irish people are very hospitable. And yeah.
So you did quite a bit of traveling.
Yes. Oh yeah, we went to, we drove to Ohio, and his family is from there. And to Niagara Falls, and to Canada, part of Niagara Falls. And we had some wonderful traveling together. So in Downey, so we got so far here, living on the base in North Edwards and Lancaster. Yeah, those were.
And then finally, it was Oceanside. You met John McGurvey in 1995. You married in 1996. And then, how long were you married to John McGurvey for?
Yeah. Okay. July 12th of 2011. So that was almost 15 years, right? Mm-hmm. Almost 15 years. Yeah. He prepared very well for death. He was in hospice a short time. When he was younger, some of the boys would be in the choir. He sang to Jesus and the Blessed Virgin Mary, and Abbot Charles gave him the anointing of the sick. Oh, and the day he died, it was arranged some months before, July 12th. We had Mass here in the morning, joined sick, and that afternoon he died. Mm-hmm. So that was a beautiful death, yeah. well, life, the way he lived it. And so then I was widowed again. Oh, they had something at the parish for bereavement. Yeah, I met some good people through meeting there at the parish at Mission San Luis Rey. And then I was meeting later on with the Catholic Widow and Widowers. Oh, and we have a mass once a month at different churches and then go out to lunch or breakfast. So I went to one of those, and then we went to the Broken Yoke, and I saw this man, and he wasn't parked at the right place. So I told him. So he said, well, because you saved me getting a ticket or something, he would take me out to dinner.
And who was that man?
That was Al Rowe. So,
Do you recall what year that was approximately? That was with the Catholic Widow and Widowers at a function at the Broken Yoke restaurant?
yeah.
When you first met Al Rowe?
Well, that must have been in 2013. I guess our first date was in 2014. It was 13, 14.
And fast forwarding that tip about telling them not to park there or get a ticket, you all ended up getting
what?
Getting married.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We dated for a while.
Yes.
And,
So
well,
you
no,
married Al in August?
2nd, yeah, 2014. And he had his home, 2 homes in Encinitas. But that didn't work out the way it wasn't convenient and for safety. We both decided it was best to live here. And of course we're convinced because we like this area and it's a private street and good neighbors, and we have all the safety things here. Right.
That's great. So that brings us up to our current date, which today is actually Al's birthday, May 22nd, 2021. We had a lovely day with Al, a birthday lunch, his favorite lemon meringue pie, and
it's also the birthday of our church tomorrow, Pentecost. And on Pentecost Sunday, 2017, he became ill. We were all set to go to Mass, have a wonderful breakfast. Yeah, and he couldn't stand, he had to sit down, and so we took him to emergency, and they diagnosed him with AFib. And so he had to be diagnosed properly and on treatment. So Pentecost 4 years ago was June 4th. But now he's able to get around with this walker and quite a distance, and use a cane occasionally.
And now that brings us up to the year 2021, what's a typical day in your life now?
Well, I don't know if it's difficult, but I'll be happy.
Typical. What's a usual day for you? What things do you do?
Oh, it's very good, and I get the help of, right now, it's with Ethel helping with the home chores, and Al wants to participate as much as he can. Like, we always have we call the evening meal supper. We're fortunate we can have our main meal, like the early afternoon. And so Al and I prepare our supper, and he wants to clean up after that. It makes him happy when he participates in whatever he can do, which is a good attitude. And I can carry on and do. I want to get things organized the way they do need to be.
And you always enjoy going on a walk in the neighborhood?
Oh yeah. Al is so thankful to be living here, you know. Everything about it. A private street, it's quiet. The home is designed. It's convenient and comfortable. Yeah, he keeps saying, I'm glad we're living here.
And you all seem to get around well, going on walks, going to functions, appointments, Mass every Sunday at Mission San Luis Rey.
Well, now we can.
Because of the...
For a while, we just watched the Mass on TV. In fact, Al likes to watch it every day on TV.
Oh, so that's good. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, you've had to stay at home a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But now we're getting out more. You're both vaccinated.
Yeah.
So I have a question. You've lived through a lot, the Depression, World War II, the rationing of food, sugar, ration coupons, doing the drills where you go under your desk for an atomic bomb, and then now you've lived through COVID-19. Which would you say is worse, going through World War II or the COVID-19 situation?
Well, in WW2, we weren't in combat, but for us who were at home, that wasn't as difficult as maybe with COVID-19. It's so infectious, you know. You have to be so careful. It's transmitted so easily. It's an entirely different situation. I mean, it really, WW2, the rationing, you know, we still could be healthy, and it's the people in combat and how they gave their lives for us, and well, people in the military still do that. And the situation, the world situation right now.
About the world situation right now, what do you like about the current generation?
Well, you can always find good wherever you are and seek the good. And
what advice do you have to give young people today?
To be faithful. And we have the gift of faith, Catholics, to always remain faithful, says our Lord. And I'll give you the gift of life, heaven, to be saints. And what the need in the Catholic Church is the preparation for the sacrament of matrimony. And then after that, being in community with other married couples. We didn't have that when we were married. And so, of course, the first Christian Catholics had it. So we need to restore that, because the fundamental issue is how marriages are if they're living the sacrament of matrimony. And God has given us the means to do it, so let's do it.
Recalling your life, which you've lived a really great life, going on 92 years now, what was the best day of your life?
Well, of course it had to be when I was married, because that is our vocation. Yeah, because in marriage we sanctify each other. And if all couples would realize how significant, as the body of Christ, we're all indispensable for helping each other get to heaven. And the sacrament of matrimony is a fundamental way how people are living the sacrament of matrimony. I was so fortunate, like divine providence, that I met my husband there in the... He was doing a good deed, helping his neighbor move and then buying some donuts. So, and here someone else was trying to marry me. So, but I wasn't really interested in him. So, that would have to be that our marriage,
The best day of your
and
life.
our children, and we thought that we might be married 50, 60 years, but it was only 29. But be thankful for what you have.
And that leads me to the next question. What words of wisdom do you have for a happy life?
Well, I think just what I said. Most people are called to marriage, and that's the foundation of our world, our society, our culture. So we have to encourage each other by the way we live, even if we're not called to marriage, the single or religious, to carry it out. And we were told, why did God create us? To know Him, to love Him, to serve Him, this world, so we could be happy with Him forever in heaven. So God tells us how to live, so we can hope to meet all of you in heaven.
Great. Well, thank you for telling us all about your life, Mom Vivian. Is there anything else you would like to add? Anything you did not get a chance to say? Any interesting things about your childhood?
How many hours do you have? How many hours do you have? I think I carried out, well, significant things, but you know, you always think of something later on. Is there something else? Well, I'm thankful, like I said before, for my faith and the gift of faith, and to transmit it, and so we can all meet in heaven to be saints.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We just love learning and hearing all your stories. Thanks, Mom. We love you.
Oh, I didn't mention about Mark and Mary.
Oh, yes. Tell us about your children, Mark and Mary.
Yeah. Well, Mark went through a time of that we didn't even know about, alcoholism, and he was doing better, and I prayed maybe the hardest in my life. I knew a physician from, where was he, USC. He told me exactly what to do to...
An intervention?
Yeah, the intervention thing. I'm so thankful to him because I did everything exactly he said. Well, I had prior good education from other people too, but so I gave, the intervention I gave him was that he needed to go to USC, where they had a program for him, or he couldn't live there, so he tried to get out of it, someone to help him. They couldn't, so Regina drove him there to USC, and He went to some division. Regina had to leave and go to work. So there was a priest I knew, Father Dorian Rowe, and I asked him about it, and there was some priest there, and anyway, he was sent to Cedar House to be detoxed, and then he was sent to the main artery in another city, and he actually called me at the main artery, and he said, "Mom, thanks for sending me here."
And that was Mark calling you to say that?
Yes.
And this was about the year 1984?
No, I think, see, Dad died in 82. So maybe 83.
83, about 1983.
Yeah. Well, prior to that, there was a meeting at AV Hospital about the intervention. And what particularly impressed me was this lady. She was married, and her father-in-law, an alcoholic, had a bar in Oceanside. And she's the only one who cared about him, his father-in-law, for an intervention or to help him. I thought, wow, if she could do it, everyone should care enough about that person. So that started getting me the incentive. And then plus this friend who was a physician, he knew just exactly what to do. So then Mark wanted to stay there longer, but he had to give his bed to someone else. They had to kick him out. And so my friend, I think, actually picked him up. Where did she bring him? This is my good friend in nursing. Okay, Dorothy. And they lived in Compton. Somehow or another they picked her up. And so then when I talked to Mark, I said, well, I don't think it's good for you to live here. Your Uncle Ron and Aunt Margaret would take him in. Oh my God, do you realize how gracious they were that he lived there? And he went to Al-Anon meetings 2-3 times a week. They thought maybe he went too often. And he went to school there.
And that was in Lemoore, is that correct, in California?
No, another city. What was the name of it? He graduated, and he did the best in his class.
Right.
And he did so well.
Wonderful.
And he got a job as a groundskeeper. He rented a little apartment. Claire and I went to we saw the place he lived. He was just doing so well. And in Lemoore, he worked at a restaurant. People said, why don't you drink beer? He said, I don't want to go through that anymore. And, well, his downfall was coming back to well, he chose to be these friends. Well, how can you call them friends? Do you remember who was the guy he went around with?
Joel.
Yeah. Joel's dad committed suicide, I guess. And I told the mother of Joel what these young people were up to. It didn't even faze her. And Salazar was the other guy. He had very good parents. So, and then he went into his own business. Paul, someone has his Mark's truck and stuff still, huh? Yeah, he wanted to be in his own business of welding and all that. And somehow or another he got off the path. Oh, they wanted him to leave. That was it.
Where he was currently living on that land.
Yeah, and he wasn't supposed to. And he didn't leave, and so and how he got the gun. Who has that gun, Paul?
The police kept it.
Oh, is that it? Yeah. And then with Mary, she became ill with lung
cancer.
Yeah, and she never smoked, and she took all these new medications, right? And
Treatments.
yeah, and she became very ill with some of them, vomiting and very ill. I was with her visiting. You came to visit her too, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
And remember when she got a treatment for
Radiation or chemotherapy?
No, it's key. Anyway, when you looked out, you saw the beautiful forest. You know, if you had to have it, that was a beautiful place to have it. So, and even some fellow employees gave their hours to help pay with the medical expenses. Do you remember that, Paul? That was very, very tremendous. And she was very brave before she died. And her mother-in-law, Betty, she was a very faithful, she was with her. That gave me a lot of hope. They prayed together. And she was able to wear this miraculous medal, and no one knew how she got it, so I inquired and I inquired. And I think Lois, cousin Lois, said something about Anne.
Anne,
and
cousin Anne.
I asked her about, she said yes. I sent Mary this miraculous medal.
Mm-hmm. And she was wearing it.
And somehow she was able to get it on. So I'm thankful for her mother-in-law, and that I guess God gave Mary the grace to wear it and pray together before she died.
And that was in October of 2004?
Yeah, she died on October 4th. Your Aunt Marilyn's birthday is October 4th. John Kennedy died on October 4th.
Wow.
The feast of St. Francis of Assisi is October. St. Francis of Assisi, there, he's all covered with aloe vera. Yeah. So of course we pray for everyone and all those who died before us, and everyone. And Lynn Rowe is getting better. Yeah, we're happy about that.
Well, thank you, and to be continued, and we look forward to many more happy years and memories to be had.
No, we get in there. Come on, three of us get in there.
Here we go again. Okay.
And life is a continuous thank you.
So thanks, Mom, for telling us all about your life story, from your youngest, Sharon, to your oldest
me.
Paul.
Yeah.
Yay, Mom.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you're just incredible, Mom, and you're a really good
A great role model and a great mom, and
Well,
more girls should look up to moms like her.
Yeah, you're still going and walking every day at 91. I want to be like you. You're my role
well,
model.
thank you.
Okay.
I'm always thankful to God.
Bye.
Yeah, well,